and this is around 1447 BCE. Moses' story is often cited as a direct contradiction to the practice of slavery and the idea that one group of people can own and control another. By dedicating his life to the liberation of the Israelites, Moses demonstrated that God's will was for all people to be free and treated with dignity and respect. This is in contrast to the practice of slavery, which involves the ownership and control of another human being, often against their will. Slavery has been a part of human society for thousands of years, and it has taken many different forms in different times and places. However, at its core, slavery involves the exploitation and dehumanization of individuals and is widely recognized as the fundamental violation of human rights. In the Bible, we see both examples of slavery and stories of liberation from slavery. While some passages seem to condone or regulate the practice of slavery, others, like the story of Moses, speaks to a broader ethical message of justice, compassion, and freedom for all. But like I said, you know, that's a direct contradiction, um, you know, to the laws that he created, you know, in this system of the Torah. And Moses is widely recognized as the leader who led the Hebrew Israelites out of slavery in Egypt. His story is one of the most important and inspiring in the Bible. According to the book of Exodus, Moses was chosen by God to lead the Israelites from their bondage in Egypt to lead them to the promised land. One story that they threw in there, you know, after the Exodus. It says Numbers 31. Um, God commands Moses to take vengeance on the Midianites who led the Israelites into sin by seducing them to worship the god Baal. Moses leads an army of 12,000 Israelites into battle against the Midianites and kills all the men, including 5 kings. The Israelites capture the women, children, and livestock as plunder and bring them back to the camp. Moses becomes angry with the army commanders for allowing the women to live, believing that they will lead the Israelites into further sin. God commands the Israelites to purify themselves and the captives by passing them through water and fire and to take the women as wives. The chapter concludes with a detailed account of the spoils of war, including the number of people and animals captured. The verse in Numbers 31:18 actually reads, "But save yourselves every girl who has never slept with a man." Not every woman, every girl who has not slept with a man. And back in those days, most virgins were children, young girls. R. Kelly. You know, just to put that, so that we can kind of understand, they took these women as slaves, young girls. God commanded them to take them as wives, meaning, regardless if they wanted to or not, they were their slaves. So they were going to take them as wives, which meaning, rape. But, again, this is Moses leading the Hebrew Israelites out of slavery, then immediately enslaving some of the Midianite women and not women, I'm sorry, Midianite girls who have never been with men and enslaving them and taking them as wives. Why they chose to put that story in there, after such a great liberating story about freeing slaves, I do not know. But to kind of give you an idea of why they did do that, I gave a few examples of some of the laws that are in Leviticus, where it states that Israelites may buy slaves from surrounding nations and their descendants may also be owned as property. That falls under chattel slavery. Again, chattel slavery. Where is that at? I just want to read that definition. Chattel slavery is the form of slavery characterized by the complete ownership of a person as property who is treated as an object to be bought, sold, or inherited, like any other form or of property. And just like I read that, the Israelites may buy slaves from the surrounding nations, and their descendants may also be owned as property. This was a common practice in the Near East. It is also important to note that the Bible allows for the ownership of slaves from other nations. It also contains laws that protects the rights of slaves and requires their humane treatment. You know, in Deuteronomy, it's stated that a slave who escapes their master should not be returned to them. And just to kind of get into the slavery a little bit deeper, um, here are a few of the slave acts that were formed in America. Fugitive Slave Act. The act authorized slave owners to pursue escaped slaves across state lines and require citizens to assist in their capture. The Slave Trade Act of 1794. This act prohibited the export of American slaves to foreign countries. The Fugitive Act of 1850 strengthened the previous Fugitive Slave Act by imposing harsher penalties on those who aided runaway slaves. Excuse me. And just like I said, I mean, these laws mirror each other. Just like, Jim Crow. They had to prohibiting interracial marriages, denying Black Americans access to certain jobs and businesses, restricting Black Americans from owning property in certain neighborhoods. Then in Deuteronomy, you have do not intermarry with them. You know, Nehemiah 13. Um, I rebuked them and I called curses down on them, and that was because I saw the men of Judah who had married women, of Ashdod, Ammon, and Moab. Second Corinthians, do not be yoked together with unbelievers. Um, and a lot of people try to put religion on the reason as to why God didn't want the Hebrew Israelites to mix with other races. But it's funny that they can take those same exact laws and apply race to them. And the Black Americans have experienced those laws to segregation and everything in Jim Crow. And those laws were just abolished in 1965. I was born in 1976. So that lets you know how current this stuff, has filtered through to the present. And, I just want to bring light to this stuff. And we need to get to the bottom of who created this ideology, who made these laws. I mean, because nobody can tell me that God made laws that were actually able to be used in Jim Crow and to perpetuate slavery in America and the transatlantic slave trade, the Islamic slave trade, which happened, you know, in the East with the Muslims, and it just all goes hand in hand. And then we take these scriptures and we look at them, as biblical scriptures written from God. We revere these scriptures, revere the law, and then we have certain groups of people in the Black community, the Hebrew Israelites, who actually attach themselves to this stuff. Which I do understand why they do it, because this stuff happened. And like I said, the land of Cush, land where it is melanated people. But again, you see the doctrine that it's attached to. You see the things that Abraham did. These are wealthy men. This is the 0.7% of the world. This is not the Black nation's thinking. This is not their ideology. So to attach yourselves to this stuff, which is all written in Greek form, It came out of Rome. It came from Latin. These are all languages spoken in Rome. So this is their ideology. So when you understand this, then you can understand why these laws and things were put in the Bible and actually taught to people as religion through the kingships of the kings over in England. King James, who translated it into his own Bible, had his own version. And he taught these things, and they used it to perpetuate slavery and to actually defend why they did it. And they also used the stories in the Bible to show that all of these patriots actually owned slaves, and they were the ones that actually created these laws to perpetuate this system.